Hello, welcome. Couple photos there to open the show from NOLA, from Jazzfest. Welcome to 420 Live. I am your host, Jeff Kravitz. Welcome to the daily distraction, your daily, I don't care what else happened in the world. Let's focus on having a little fun. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to have a little fun. We're going to celebrate an amazing town, New Orleans. We've been celebrating New Orleans all weekend. We had amazing shows this weekend. Starting on Thursday, we had Boyfriend. On Friday, we had the legend George Porter. On Saturday, we had Ivan Neville. And then yesterday, we finished up with Ben Jaffe. I mean, that generationally covers just about every important aspect of New Orleans and in all the different segments. You know, you got the white Jewish kid, you have George Porter sleeping in tie-dyed sheets, you have Ivan Neville recovering from COVID, you got Boyfriend out there selling her used panties. We really got into it last week and got some amazing subject matter. I did an interview today with my friend Nicole Sandler. We were talking and she was showing up a bunch of my old photographs today, and it was interesting to go back to think of my life before I was doing this, when I was taking pictures. And she really got my brain going on some of the amazing moments and things I've done. And it's really hard for me to grasp that the reality is changing, that everything is kind of morphing into something different. And we can't really put our finger on it, but I know whatever's happening in the world right now is kind of crazy. I saw the footage of the people in New York City protesting today in their cars, riding around the city. It's interesting that you're going to protest in New York City in a car because there's no traffic. So you could probably, one of the only times you could really do it, because otherwise you just be stuck in traffic. But they're protesting. People are tired. And you know what? I'm going to let them be the control group. And I think that's good advice for all of us that have a brain out there, is let people go nuts and go out in public and go to the parks and go to the beach, and we'll wait a week or so, wait a week or two, and then see what happens. If nobody's dropping dead, there's your test group. Then you can probably go out. If people start getting sick, stay home. But you watch your headlines and you watch the count, and there's everybody out there is trying to do their best, except for our leaders. So don't listen to them. Don't be fooled by thinking, even they're doing a good job, they're not, or whatever. Anyway, as you all know, I digress. This is not why we're here. We're not here to talk about the orangutan in office or any of his people that are doing things like pulling the money. The education pulled the money for all the dreamers today. I don't know if you caught that, our wonderful Betsy Davis. So we're not here to focus on that, because we all know it's happening. You can all see it. You can tune into it in a million different places. And the reason I started this show 42 days ago on a Monday, 7 weeks ago on March 15th, was because I wanted to create a safe place for my friends to come and hang out. And, it started off as a place for us to enjoy 420, and 420 would be our cannabis consumption time. And, over the time, as I started interviewing people, it got harder and harder to interrupt the show for smoke. And I got much more interested in what I was able to pull out of somebody than getting high in front of everybody. And it really, you need your brain, because when you're listening to a conversation, you want to understand what people are saying and you want to be able to react to it. And a lot of times when you're stoned, you're just like, what'd you say? What was that? So I'm trying to keep that kind of stuff, the ums, the the likes, all those kind of things that you use as a down to a minimum, and try to get my brain firing, because it's really good for me to make my brain work, because I spend enough time trying to kill the brain cells. So today for our New Orleans celebration, a lot of people have touched my life in New Orleans, and I get to hang out with some really fun people and have a lot of laughs. And some of my friends end up in the news. My first guest today, we have two. Tom Thayer is our second guest from d.b.a. Our first guest is the Whistlemonsta, Leroy Mitchell. Leroy is a New Orleans native, and you would know him best as if you watch the Saints. I don't know how you don't watch the Saints, because they've been to the Super Bowl, and front and center, you see the Popes, the guys with the hats on, and then you see the guy with the whistle head on. And Whistle has one of the loudest whistles in the world, and piercing. He's not afraid to use it, whether people like it or not. We're going to bring in Leroy Mitchell, my friend Whistlemonsta. Say hello to Whistle.
What's up, Jeff? What's happening, brother?
How are you?
Dude, I'm stoked to be on your show, man.
Well,
Big honor with all the guests that you have here, dude. I mean, holy cows. I mean, just 1 week. Some people wish they can get that list just for a whole year.
yeah,
What's up? I'm honored to be here, man.
thank you. It's great to have you here, but you're as much a part of the fabric as New Orleans of any of the people I've had on here. You're everywhere. You know the history like no one else. Your encyclopedic knowledge of everything. I know the past 4 days, I believe you've been going down to the fairgrounds at 11 a.m. every day to be there at the gates when they would open.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on something I was planning on doing. It just came over me. We live for the Jazzfest, Jeff. You know that. You come here all the time. We love to hang out with all of our posse. But I just felt like I had to go down there the first day just to, because I mean, if you've ever been in when it first opens, it is like this crazy, chaotic, beautiful, poetic thing happening. Like everyone's in there, and like as soon as they open the gates, it's just a full-on sprint for people with tarps. Some people walking slow, some people really don't even care, but some people are sprinting to their favorite places, and it's just the energy and the excitement. And I think I posted some of it on some social media today. You can take a look, man. It's just like, it's really just like a crazy, beautiful, just stampede, and people are just running for their spots. And I had to go down there for that moment, that feeling. And then the first act, they're only 30 minutes for we're doing this. OZ has been doing a great job. It made the whole, I mean, actually my wife was like, she saw it in my eyes when she told me yesterday that, it was the end and it was the last day of the first week. I almost felt like it was exactly at the Jazz. Like I was like, damn, tomorrow's Monday and it's over. I had a good time. I really had a good time. Kermit was Monday. And I stayed just for the first act, because from 11:30, right?
Right.
And then I cruise out. I sit out front. I just listen, and then I just cruise right after that. But Aaron was the next day. Bonorama was the next day. I forget what was so Bonorama. I was out the Bonorama that next morning. I can't remember
all the different broadcasts.
The first 11 o'clock slot.
WWOZ is the local station in New Orleans has been doing festing at home where people can listen to old sets of Jazz Fest during 11 a.m. and 7 p.m., which was Fest is on ground. Run us through like a typical day for you at the fairgrounds. Are you there at 11 a.m. every day, or do you come in different times? Because I know you're out late too.
You just hit the nail on the head, Jeff. It just depends on the night before, man.
I find my time getting later and later as the week goes on.
It does, man. But we try and get there. I mean, honestly, the truth be told, man, I can't remember when the last time I was there when it first broke open. But it had to be like, it was inside of Katrina, but it had to be like over maybe 3 years ago. I'm not there all the time. I try, but some of the party, the late night since the late night has taken off, that's when those chances of being there 11 just kind of.
So I pinned that down to pretty much the Superfly guys in like the late 90s and the early 2000s. Is that right? When that really started kicking off to the all hours of the night?
Yeah, I mean, more for the, general pop all hours of the night, like New Orleans.
Well, if you're local, you know where to go.
Going on somewhere. But yeah, like live music, and people can pay to get in to have like, shows that start at 2 o'clock in the morning to Maple Leaf. You know what I mean? A starting show. Like it gets really comical during those times here, because you see like shows that start at 3:45 show after, like you go into a show at 3:45, but Jazz Fest, yeah.
And what do you think it's the way the drugs have changed, that everybody started doing the ecstasy, which lasted a lot longer and kept everybody up, as opposed to
I think it's probably a combination of that and chocolates and just people just having a good time and nitrous and stuff like that.
Well, nitrous has been a huge problem in New Orleans. I mean, especially on Frenchman.
Yeah, I mean, that shit is crazy. I'm not into it. I used to hit it a bunch of times when I was a kid, but it's just too funky.
I just want to get my teeth pulled.
Nah. Listen to some good music, man. Have some one of your favorite girls sit on your lap and melt into each other. Try that.
So you were born and raised in New Orleans, or were you born and raised?
Yes. Well, not in New Orleans, in Metairie.
In Metairie.
It's so funny. someone had an interview. Oh yeah, Joffrey yesterday.
Yeah.
He was talking about his friend in Metairie, and it was so funny to me to see him have that feeling about being a French Quarter person, and because I'm from Metairie, and you know, if I'm offending people from Metairie, then so what? I'm from Metairie too. Get the fuck over it. But it's funny. The place is a funny place because people think like they're so much better. Not all. I don't want to generalize. So save your tweets and whatever the fuck it is. I'm not generalizing. Not every single person in Metairie thinks like that, but a large majority of people in Metairie think like they're just better than people. And some people in other sides of the lake as well. But
well, is that New Orleans is more the working class and Metarie's more the white collar, or?
No, it's just a different scene. Like there's only one heartbeat of everybody, right? And then New Orleans is a heartbeat for all those like 70 something parishes, right? And then places like, you know, when you meet people like, oh, I'm from New Orleans, they may be from Sayel. Oh, I'm from New Orleans, they may be from Covington. Oh, I'm from New Orleans. They don't say they're from those places.
Right.
I'm not saying it as a bad thing. I'm just saying New Orleans is its own thing. You know, it's a beautiful thing. And it's not only its own thing. We should be fortunate that it's in Louisiana, but there's nothing like it in the world.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, so whatever.
Well, what's your earliest memory of going to Jazzfest? Did your parents take you when you were a little kid?
No, not at all. I wish. My folks just wasn't, you know, I didn't know my dad until I was like 18 years old, so I didn't really have like the whole family unit for me. But I had nothing but love from my mom's side of the family, which was just an amazing thing. You know, I talked at Rich Youth, and like a lot of people don't believe, like they can't believe I didn't know my father until I was 18 years old, but I had love, right? So it was a different thing I was going through in my life. You know, going to school and just focusing on education with my family really was real sticklers about on that side.
When mom and grandmom and the women take charge.
And she had my uncles, my uncles who really forced me in sports and everything. But I just stayed. My grandmother taught me to just love everyone for whoever they were, you know. And here's a woman that was born in 1914, and she just loved everyone, right? She had all Native American, African American woman born in 1914. Thinks she don't have a reason to not like a lot of people, but she did, and she just loved people, you know. And that was the gift that she gave me, man. And I didn't look at color, and I still don't. I just have friends, you know. It just doesn't matter who they are, what their status is. It's just so I was getting some snow skiing and water skiing and doing all kinds of crazy shit, you know. And then
so when was your first trip to NOLA that you remember?
They used to call it the city. You go to the city. I mean, I went to trust me, when I was a young kid, I was in Orleans Parish all the time. Like, you know, the Sitting Duck and it was like the Boot and the Blue Crystal, the Maple Leaf back 25 years ago. Maple Leaf Rebirth was the best. It's still holding down Tuesdays, you know. Now it's a different Rebirth, you know, but it's the Rebirth has been at the Maple Leaf. Like for me growing up as a kid, my biggest memory probably being in New Orleans is actually on Tuesdays, whenever there was Thanksgiving, like everyone would come back in town from wherever they were going to school or whatever. And the Maple Leaf was a fucking zoo. It was awesome. And it was like, you see everybody hadn't seen in years, and it was just Rebirth, just lighting that shit up. And it was like nothing like it, man. And then that Thursday, everybody had family dinner. It was a good time.
Yeah, fun stuff. So your legend is that you have this incredible natural ability to whistle at frequencies never by a human before. Yeah. And if people don't know about Whistlemonsta, he's a super fan. You've been traveled all over the country, right?
Man. I've been fortunate and blessed to be able to. I'll give you a brief thing on the whistling. So my grandmother told me a long time ago, God gives everybody a talent, right? You just got to find it. And if you have a talent, you don't use it, it's a sin. So I really realized about 18 years old that I had a talent of whistling. And I thought it was the lamest talent in the world, Jeff. Honestly, it's like, this shit is the weakest talent of whistling. What the fuck am I gonna do with whistling? Right? But so I just incorporated it into the team, the Saints, because I always say like the Saints is like my mom and New Orleans is like my dad, right? So they may not be proud of them all the time, but they're who you are, right? Like I'm fucking embarrassed sometimes. Like, Mom, what the,
You're like,
you know
Mom.
what I mean? But right, but so, and I guess I was a bored kid, right? So that whistle there is just kind of like whatever. It's like maybe under a couple hundred, maybe like 90 something
Yeah.
decibels. But I didn't want to do it, Jeff, to be honest with you. And when she told me to do it, I had to embrace it. And then the team wasn't really good. We just were terrible at the time, you know? Yeah. Hey, man, watch your mouth, dude. This is for Atlanta. All my Atlanta fans out there. Any chance to like troll Atlanta Falcons. But anyhow, you can thank Jeff Kravitz for me trolling you just now. But anyhow, anyway, honestly, Jeff, I just wanted to support the team because I know that the guys are not going to be, they're not out there trying to stink it up. They're not, you needed the 12th man, and we weren't really strong when it came to 12th man, in my opinion.
Because the fans weren't supporting them back in the day.
Well, they were wearing bags. I wouldn't consider that supporting them, but But I would light a bag on the corner of the bag. Would light those afire. We set those afire. Not too many people in my section is gonna be wearing bags. They may wear it once or twice, but they gotta remember that bag coming in this section. It might be on fire in a few minutes.
It was dangerous in the Superdome in those days.
Well, I mean, that's so much space. You want to talk about social distancing? The joke used to be someone broke in my car and left 2 Saints tickets. It's like, I mean, nobody was going to Saints games, man. It wasn't like Drew Brees was there and people were fighting. Drew's our guy. He saved us. He was hurt like we were hurt with Katrina, and he came there and, God, getting emotional. But, man, it was just that guy, he really brought New Orleans up.
Oh, yeah, but before Katrina, there wasn't a lot of respect, right? Pretty much.
We stunk, man. And that's the thing. Like, my wife, she'll say this all the time. She goes, her Saints, they won a Super Bowl. In 3 years. In 3 years. My team, I was the fan of the year in the 3-13 season from Buddy Diliberto, who's just like legendary. I got to give it up to Buddy.
Were you in the Whistlemonsta costume at that time?
When 3-13 season? Yeah. Oh yeah.
How many years you been doing it?
26.
26 years.
1996. But I've been going to the games way before that.
Did you eat some chocolate before you came up with the whole idea? Were you inebriated at the time? You were probably, like, I'm going to become a superhero, a whistle.
No, dude, this is what happened. This is how it started. So I basically would go to the games, just this crazy ass dude, no costume, whistling louder than an airplane taking off, right? And you'd just be like, what the fuck? This guy can't no way on defense. Because on defense, on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 2, whatever, they're like, boo, boo, like,
yeah.
So I'm just like, this is just terrible. So I had to go and be the conductor of the orchestra, right? So I would, back in those days, there was no one's checking tickets. I just go from section to section, whistle, get this crowd up, get them up on 3rd down, let them start feeling it, move on to the other ones, right? So I was like, why don't I just create this whistle, and then the 68,000 people can provide the sound, right? And so it'll be hot air from 68,000 people's negativity going into this whistle, and I'm providing the sound. And the sound was me whistling over 123 decibels, which causes damage to your ears. 120 is when an airplane takes off, right? Anything above 120 causes damage in your ear. So I just thought of, why don't I help the 12th man a little bit by creating a whistle and taking the energy from those people, and boom.
Boom it is. And I got to tell you, when I was on the old Google today and I put your name in to get some pictures, the first thing that came up were all this articles from January 20th about how you pissed off every football fan in America.
Not only football fans,
in the stadium,
like the whole
but everybody on TV was complaining.
Dude, it was the perfect person for it to happen to is me, right? Because I don't let people rent space in my head for free. I don't even care if it's like millions of people, like millions. I just don't give a fuck. Because, I mean, it's all right. It's okay. You think what you want. I'm going to think what I want. Here's what happened. I whistle loud, or like I said, loud on the airplane taking off, right? And I'm friends with a lot of those guys in the cameras. They come around, they see me there. But for some reason, during that championship game, where they were just trying to be right in the heart of it or whatever, but they put their central station, like everything for their broadcast. I can't even remember which ones it was. but they had boom mics. Like we sit on the first row, so I love number ones, right? So my section is section 111, row 1, seat 11, right? And that puts me right behind the opponent's bench. So I'm in there shit all the time, right? So I guess they thought it'd be a great idea to set up right in front of me and the Popes and all of us, because we sit there as well. It's a bunch of us, and we call it like the substitute teachers out in that class. With that class, they go nuts, from heckling the kicker to everything. So they set all their stuff up. Long story short, and then all of a sudden, at halftime, I get like a ESPN reporter come up. I get I forget what the other one was, the Athletic. Well, on each side, like they always get folks who want to talk after, but during the game, they were like, "Hey, man," and this is embarrassing to say, Jeff, but I'll say it to you. She was like, "You're trending," and I was like, "I don't even know what trending means. I don't know what it is," but apparently, the whole world was hating me, and they were talking about it, and I didn't really, I'm trying to win a game, and then all of a sudden we get the no call, right? And we leave, everyone's sad. I'm like, win, lose, or draw, I'm gonna walk the walk of shame. I don't call it the walk of shame. It's just you win and you lose, man. You win with grace and you lose with grace, right? And anybody who's ever met me and been to New Orleans knows I'm not talking shit. I will sit there and I will shake every single person's hand on my way out to wherever I'm headed. So I'm in the process of doing that, and I look at this video that I did with one of the guys from ESPN, and it's got like 400,000 hits. I'm like, what is going on? Like, I still have no clue about what's happening right now. And finally, like, dude, did you see what happened? You're like, everybody's talking about you whistling in the whistle, and they hate you. So I'm just gonna go on over to the house where we're headed, and I'm like still drinking, have a good time for New Orleans. It's like, let's look at the top 20s, whatever. Let's have some fun with this. I don't care. But it was some good stuff. But we went from like it's the guy whistling from the Titanic. Maybe this guy can bring the world back together, and everybody's hate for him, and it was just all kind. But it was on from Golf Digest to
Sports Illustrated, everyone,
dude. And so folks who I talk to in media and all, like French's cousin Keith, he's kind of helps me, and there's a couple of agent friends of mine. They're like, dude, right. Every single thing has your hate from every. I mean, it was just a crazy thing, and I really didn't care. So I just went on Twitter and I just told them this is what stopped it. I said all the hate from the millions of people in Twitter only makes me love more, and I never got one negative comment after that.
Well, you got a really big heart. Have the opposing teams have the same reaction to your whistle as the people in New Orleans? Like when you go to an away game, can you bring the whistle in? Can you do the whole whistle thing, or are they like, nah, not in our house?
It's a combination. So some of them, like, honestly, they hate me. They do. They like this guy is gonna be yelling the whole time. But some people that have been doing it so long are like, you know what? Well, you know who this guy is? You can't not let him in with this. You can't. Like in security, I will fight most of the time, and most of the time the guys like managers will be like, just don't put it on, don't bother. If you get any complaints, whatever. So I'll go in, and immediately on defense when I start whistling, complaints come, and I get kicked out in some places. And the last time I went to San Francisco, to California, it was in this is a good story for you. I left. I went to go into Pan. What's the little soccer place they played in for the Chargers game? It's only like a 20.
Oh yeah. Down in San Diego, you're talking about?
Yeah,
I know.
So we go there, and with my buddies, who's just like, who has connections, right? So this guy, I'm not going to say who he is. He has a bodyguard. So we go there. We all in together. So we sit like 3 rows from the field or whatever. And I start whistling. And before you know it, it's like 5 security guards all telling me that I got to stop whistling, or I'm going to go to jail. I'm like, dude, we only been here. And here's the biggest part. I didn't even wear the whistle. I just was going with my family and my buddy. It was like super incognito. I'm just like a regular guy until I would start whistling, right? And once I start whistling, I was the enemy. And so then they had the state troopers about to come. One of my buddies was upstairs. One of his guys, he was like, look, dude, I'm an officer. If you don't stop whistling, they're coming down. they're grabbing you and you go into jail. You're going to stop whistling. This is like in the first quarter. And I'm just like, dude, you pay like $300 a ticket for each person. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, dude, I stop. And this old guy from California, he's like 70 something years old, him and his wife, I swear to God. He goes, look, man, he was sitting right in front of me. He goes, that whistle, it is killing me. I mean, it is really just piercing my ears. But you know what? You have the right to whistle and you keep on whistling. And I was like, man, I appreciate that. Because this was an old guy and it was really hitting him hard. But I stopped. I wanted to enjoy with my family because my wife came back and she was livid. She's like, you fucking stop whistling right this fucking second. You're going to fuck this whole thing up, you know. So I'll just cool out. If there's any kids, I'm sorry about the F-bombs, you know, but New Orleans has been, I'm still jazz festing, as you can see, because I work from home and I'm still in that mood. Even if we weren't, Andy Scott and Carla would be upstairs running around our house and going to go visit other people, go see Rob Steinberg and those guys, you know, and you guys, your family, your wife, Rob. I mean, honestly, Jeff, your family's so cool, man. I love you guys so much. And I couldn't be happier for you, man. Really, with this whole 420 thing came down, I was like, look, I'm obviously nowhere near status of some of the guests that you had, but I'm a big fan, man. And I'm a big fan of your work. And I peeped you out on that interview a bit earlier. And that I found some cool stuff out about you, man, you know, and I like to just know about what I'm getting into. And it really was special for me to be here with you, you know, and honestly, Jazzfest is really sucking a little bit for a lot of people, but I'm here to help them shine on a positive. The positive, we got OZ every day, right? We get to pretend every single day that we had Jazzfest. What if we didn't have OZ playing? We'd have nothing, right? We just have more stuff to listen to, the news and all this other nonsense, right? But we get to every day. My first day, Thursday, I went down. I listened to Kermit play. I drove around my normal spots. It was warm, no one was there. I went back to my house, went to my kiddie pool, set up my whole outside, grilled, and we ordered crawfish enchiladas from the track. Those people, we had that. And then Friday, I went back again, saw Aaron, went through my normal spots. We had already had a patency, you know. So the city's coming together as far as people buying stuff and trying to get back. And like as from the Thursday to the Sunday, when I went Sunday, they had two dudes outside with their boombox, one guy with a sign. I predict next week it's going to be almost a social distancing issue out there because people are just going to go and show up and show their love for whatever set they want to see.
Yeah, how is New Orleans? Like, what are you seeing on the streets? I know you're out quite a bit. What are you seeing out there? Are people social distancing? Are they keeping their space, or at times doesn't look like anybody's listening to anything?
I think, Jeff, you know, it's so hard to like put a pulse on everyone at one time. You can only talk about what you see and what you heard and so that's kind of where I'm at. I'm just disappointed in a lot of people, man, that I see people who just don't wear masks because it's inconvenient, because of whatever, you know, and I'm not going to get deep on this in a minute, but it's like, there's a reason why New Orleans is first in per capita for deaths. And there's a reason why America is first in deaths, because we feel entitled to a lot of things. And we think that the gloves suck. We don't know if we're doing it. Everybody is a debate king these days. So whatever you think, you know, then someone else is like, well, and so nothing kind of gives, not generalizing the whole world, but
no, but you're right. Everybody thinks they're an expert is basically what it comes down to.
And look at the numbers, dude. It was yesterday it was 205,000 people in the world that died. There's over 50,000 in the US, right? And if you look at our numbers, bro, that's, I mean, you asked me an honest question, I'm telling you an honest answer. I think people are too entitled. They feel like if shit is too much of a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
but it's an invisible thing, and it sucks.
But is it really hot? Is it really hot and humid down there right now?
No, it's freezing, dude.
Is it?
Not freezing, but it's super windy, and the sun's out. It's perfect Jazzfest weather. I hate to like sound like the beat,
thanks.
but it is unbelievable. Like the wind's blowing. You know, you get out in the sun. It's like Cali weather, bro. You know, it's like you're out in the sun and the wind's blowing, right? So whenever you're in the sun, you're good, but if you're in the shade, you get a little, you know, So it's 73. Look at this thing here. I don't look at this. I hate to do this because I don't know how it works. Look at that. That's the next weather in New Orleans for this week.
Wow, 82, 75, 78, 82, 84, 87.
It'll break your heart. No. But I'll be in my backyard grilling, doing my thing, man, pulling tubes, all that stuff, man.
Yeah, tell me, what do you think? What do you think is going to happen with the NFL season this year?
You know, I think they need to take a fall back on 1 year and just. I mean, I honestly, the fans and a part of the whole experience of the NFL, I think, is, and I think the players will say the same thing and fans will say the same thing, is that energy that I was talking about, how, you know, like they don't know it's 4th and 2 or 3rd and 1. When you come together and you're pulling and everyone's screaming and the energy and your team is, you know, when you have knowledgeable fans, something special happens, right? And it's something that those guys play for all the time. They can play anytime in an empty stadium. I'm not saying it, but when they get there and their families, their friends, there's the lights, and they worked all hard, you know, I mean, there's something you see it all the time. You do it for a living. Look at the photos behind you. You know, that feeling that they have without the crowd there. I'm not saying that it's not as special, but that's what it's all about. And if we don't have that, then it's just going to be different. So if we want that, let's try and get to a place where we can have it.
Yeah, one of the interesting things that Ivan Neville said this week was the NBA was the forefront of shutting down the country. Once they decided that they couldn't play and this was too dangerous, that it really set a precedent for the country as well as for a lot of different cities to be like, okay, we got to take this seriously. And the NFL has that same influence on the opposite side. If they decide to open up and they do it too early, it could really have serious effects. So.
And what you say has a big point, because some folks I was talking to is saying the same thing. They were like, you know, let's just pause everything and see what the NFL does. It's kind of what they were saying, you know.
That's what it is. But it's so hard for everybody to make a call right now. You know, I'm sure we could all want to get it back in. So why don't you tell us, our next guest is Tommy Thayer, who's a good friend of yours. You guys go to the game. You're in the row together there in the front row.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell our fans, do a little intro for Tom and tell everybody how important a club like d.b.a. is to the fabric of New Orleans?
Yeah, it is. Tom's an amazing guy. He's not only like a personal friend of mine and a good guy that loves New Orleans and gets everything, but he is one of my merchants in my real job, you know, my business that I do. I'm normally in a suit. The good news is I hadn't had a suit on in probably like 34 days. But Tom is a person in the community that when you hear d.b.a., you know, it's right there. And he didn't go into it easy. He had a lot of competition with Snug Harbor right there, you know, but he just did his thing differently and he put his own spin in it. And, you know, they got the apple barrel there and they got all that. But Frenchman has really come on. Like before Katrina, like Magazine Street used to be dead, right? But after Katrina, it blew up. Like there wasn't a property that it wasn't like just on popping. That has happened years ago, and Tom has a big part of that happening in d.b.a. because people are coming there, like the Stevie Wonder story. I'm not going to steal it from Thunder, but he has a lot of special stuff going on in that bar, and I'm stoked that he's been there, and I'm a good friend of his, and he's a 111 guy, and 111 means that he's a – what up, Tommy?
Yo. Say hi. Say hi. Say hi. Dude, she heard you whistling and she took off.
Nice.
She just came out. She just came in at the happy hour outside.
Tom, tell us about Whistle at the games and how the reaction is.
It's a scene, man. It's a scene. I mean, you know, you see, you know, of course, like you said, we get a lot of attention from the media because they do all know Whistle and a lot of the guys from being there for years. And you know, you'll see like, you know, we'll get photos from friends who are watching on TV or whatever, and it'll be like Wendy with her fingers in her ears, basically, because we sit right next to this dude.
Those
and
are the best pictures too. The best pictures.
The energy is incredible. We have a blast. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. So, you know, We've been there for several years now, and we got Giacomo. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right, bro. That 111 in the house. We've got Giacomo with us. We got Fatty Rick in our row. We got, you know, Fish. and we got the whole crew is up front with us, so it's a lot of fun. All the Popes,
Nemo.
Hank from the Maple Leaf. Hank's not there as much as he used to be, but
Mark Maurice and Hank and those guys, they're taking a hiatus. They don't know. They're going over to the demigod land now. They put a new plug in.
There's a new generation coming in now, but
so Tom, does everybody else wear like earplugs in that row, or?
I don't. I also whistle myself. He and I, and when Wendy's between us, she's basically got her ears plugs in. She has her earplugs in every game, for sure. But we make a lot of noise for sure. And I don't know how we could do with the Saints. I heard you talking about the season. We need to be. I don't know if we could do it without the fans. I mean, the fans are such a part of it. That's our home field advantage, and so to be doing a season without fans would be a whole other deal.
Are they talking about that?
They're talking about everything. I mean, like anything, we're going week to week now. We're just trying. I mean, people are spitballing, but they want to. They're going to start. They're probably right now with their trainers trying to get ready for the season and all that, but. Who knows? I mean, right now, like anything, who knows?
It says a 420 still. He's getting my nerves. He's getting my nerves back.
There you go. You got an old heady school glass there from Brian Raskin.
Thanks, Tom. I appreciate it, bro.
Yeah, you're right. Oh boy, here we go.
All right, here's a question that I don't really watch as much football as the normal male because I'm so busy with my work, but. Everybody's talking about the draft. How do you guys feel you did in the draft?
I think we did pretty good, right? I mean, we got an offensive line help, which helps. We got a good young linebacker from Wisconsin. We got a big tight end like Jimmy Graham, who actually blocks 10 times better probably already. So I think we did pretty good. I
did an interview right before this. I was telling the same exact thing, Tom. But one of the things I was focused on more was that we got one position, two players, and one. The center,
can play.
We
lost the whistle.
Well, what he's going to say is he can play guard or center. That kid, so he's a kid who's got who can play two positions. So what did he sign himself out? Is that what happened?
I think he could have lost battery. It's Whistlemonsta.
It could be anything.
How you doing, Tom? Oh wait, hold on. Let's bring him in.
All right.
For a second. I can bounce out, man. I just got cut.
That Binger took you down.
I got shut down.
You can see why I don't smoke on the air.
I think it's Atlanta fans, Tom.
I love that, dude. That's amazing. That is amazing right there.
6 feet, get off me. Look, here's what I'm gonna tell you. I think that I trust Sean Payton.
No doubt.
I trust Mickey Loomis, and I think that. I know that the Saints have the most, and I'll bounce out after this. The Saints have the most Pro Bowl players after the third round in a draft in the history of the NFL. So they really look at the Marcus Colstons, look at those guys.
Yep.
Look at the guys they pick up in those later drafts. Just like all those people you named, they're bigger than, in my opinion, the guys there because everyone's looking for that big bang, and they're looking for low quality all the time. But look, guys.
Right. They're looking for value.
Yes.
In later rounds,
Jeff,
Whistle.
You're gonna spend some time with Jeff. I'm with Tom.
With Tom.
See the kids. This is why you don't take a bong hit right now. Because you can't.
I learned the hard way.
He's my credit card processing rep. Whenever anything from get done, I just give him a holler and he's on it.
Leroy, do you have an inspirational message for the people of New Orleans and a donation, a charity that you'd like people direct any cash to?
Musicians Village always, man, and like the anyone's that helping homeless or kids without fathers and things like that, just less fortunate kids. I always put everything into the kids in New Orleans, man, because if we lose that generation of kids coming up, man, then that's we just got to keep pounding back into this kids because Katrina chopped a lot of things and they've got disjointed, and if we can do anything now, we can put it back. And in the Maple Leaf, man, the Maple Leaf, and like Tom, I know your situation you guys are doing, but with all the music clubs. Think about this, guys. All the music clubs in New Orleans, every last one of them, those people are the hardest working people ever because they always working when you're having a good time. And when they're not working, they're planning on working for you to have another
Y'all are a
good time.
handful too.
And that's what they do. And it can be fun. It can be overwhelming, but, and so you get fortunate like Hank and like Tom and people like that are Galactic. I think it's the best thing that can happen to Tipitinas. But, you get these club owners that come in and they get it. And they make people like me, fifth generation New Orleanians, happy and proud. And Tom, whatever you do, man, I'm behind you, bro. Well,
love you, brother. I know that.
I love you too,
I know
man.
that. I know you got my back.
All right, thank you, Whistle.
Your question, but
you did great, man.
Salute.
Cheers, buddy.
Take care.
Love, my brother.
The legendary Whistlemonsta there, ladies and gentlemen. Check out the stories about the whole world complaining about him, which had me in his.
It was funny, yeah. It was funny how it blew up that night too. And there was actually a guy behind us who had a whistle, an actual whistle too, on him. So that was compounding the situation. He was kind of covering it up a little bit. But anyway, I digress. We're talking Jazzfest now, I guess.
We're talking Jazzfest. We're talking Frenchman's. Now, if people that don't know about Frenchman's is the Bourbon Street for the locals, where it's a little bit, or that's how it started anyway.
It wasn't when we got there 20 years ago. I mean, our 20-year anniversary was Friday. We opened our first day we opened was the first Friday at Jazzfest 2000. And so that was to be sitting here looking at my cameras of the club completely empty on the first Friday at Jazzfest and the street completely empty on first. It's mind blowing, So, but when we got there, it was Snug Harbor, it was Cafe Brazil, it was the Apple Barrel with Adolfo's upstairs, and it was a club that's now on the corner that used to be called Ruby Fruit Jungle, easy for me to say, which is now the Maroney Brasserie, but that was like a lesbian club basically, and that was it. And then we came in, and Apple Spotted Cat came in about a year later, and then all the clubs that are on the 500, the Blue Nile came after, just before, actually probably 2003 or 4, they opened because that used to be the Dream Palace and whatnot. But that was kind of one other club. It tried to open and then it shut down. And then, Jesse got it and the Blue Nile, started happening just before Katrina. But all these clubs on the 500 block, the Bamboolas and the 3090s and Maison, is all post-Katrina stuff, So it's slowly, it went from a handful of clubs to now, I don't even know, 8 clubs, on the stretch.
Well, now people consider it just as crowded as Bourbon Street on a busy weekend.
It can be, absolutely. And there's the thing is, it's the mentality has turned into Bourbon Street. It used, like we used to be after. I mean, our heyday was after Katrina, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I mean, that's where, and of course, that's when Treme was shooting on the street and shooting in the club, and Treme really shined a light on Frenchman. And so, people really started, people who really wanted to see real music, the real heart of music of New Orleans, were going to Frenchman Street. And then as that progressed and more people started coming, a few locals started not wanting to bother with Frenchman Street anymore because it wasn't all locals like it had been for many, many years. So
right. It's changed.
Yeah, it started to change. But during Jazzfest, it's the diehard music fans. It's definitely, to be shut down during Jazzfest, by far our 2 most rocking weeks of the year. It's just mind blowing, right?
Yeah, I've been at the club on a Wednesday to see Walter Wolfman Washington, and during Jazzfest, and you can't even get in the door. And then I've been there in the middle of the year when there's nothing going on and it's wide open. So the difference.
Yeah, it really depends. Yep. It depends. It depends if there's a big convention in town. You're more reliant on that, or it's seasonal. Obviously, if you're there October, November, and in the spring, it's pretty rocking. As you get into the summer, it's a whole different deal.
So how I know that you, as we rolled into this pandemic, you were trying to you were trying to remove yourself from the business at this point, and
it's been a long few years. I mean, back after, like I said, having those heydays of 6, 7, 8, 9. I had my partners and I powwowed about expanding the club. Like let's expand the stage. We had all these different stages that we were going to expand to get bigger. and kind of just become go take it another level. And as we started breaking ground in July of 2011 to expand, my partner Ray was killed on his bicycle. So that was kind of a, deal with that, and then kind of settle in the estate, and then kind of restructure things. And then 2 years later, my partner Dennis died of a brain aneurysm. These are guys who are in their late 50s, early 60s. So these were young guys. And so then that was a whole, there was that. And then 2 years later, my partner Peter, who was the original capital investor, he had an injury from a fall, and it took me 2.5 years to settle his. So I've settled 5 estates in the land. And while I was settling him those 2.5 years, 2 minority partners died. So I literally, the thing that being the club owner and doing the club thing and the music thing and all that was not what I was doing. I was dealing with lawyers, and I was dealing with estates, and I was dealing with families, and I was dealing with nothing but aggravation, and it was not cheap. And so after 9 years of that, I was like, you know what, maybe now's the time, and so this had all just started happening. It took me our 20. I was like, yeah, we'll do our 20 year, we'll put it on the market, we'll do our 20-year anniversary. After Jazzfest, maybe we'll have a sweet send off, and then I'll find another building in another neighborhood or something. Who knows? And so I was just ready for a kind of I was at the d.b.a. in East Village. We started in East Village in New York in 1994, and so I was there for 6 years. So I've been doing just this just d.b.a. for 26 years, and so I was just ready for something new. And then as we get to that point, the COVID shows up, and I see Whistle hitting the bong. Wendy and I both had coughs Steinberg was the same way. We had coughs for 4 or 5 weeks in mid-January, early rolling into Mardi Gras, and so I've been eating edibles only. I've been trying to keep my lungs
clean. But
you
don't know.
What's that?
You think you had it, or you don't know?
We think we did. Once there's a reliable antibody test, and I know Ochsner, where we go, they say they have one, and they're taking care of all their people right now. But once we have an antibody test, we'll get tested for sure. But we both swear we had it. I know a lot of people do, but it would be great if we could test positive, so we could then give blood.
They don't know though if having it removes you, like chickenpox.
Just like everything with this COVID, it's changing. It's like you think, oh, you don't need a mask but then all of a sudden you do need a mask. So it's changing constantly. We're kind of rolling with it. Now they're saying that then you say your sneeze can go 13 feet.
My favorite was when I saw that it was transmitted by farts. I was like, oh, game over.
Exactly.
This is over now. Everybody's
totally.
Gonna get it.
Totally. But Whistle's right, man. We had such a beautiful weekend this weekend, and it's going to be a beautiful week. And it's just like, ooh, man, it's be perfect Jazzfest weather for sure.
New Orleans is kind of like a punching bag for Mother Nature, and for it's like every time it gets back up and it gets rolling, bam, something else happens. Katrina. Yeah. It's like one thing after another, and it's just like true. I don't know how we get back to the level of travel and going places and feeling okay to get on a plane. And until we get that level done, it's going to be hard to bounce this economy back.
For sure. And then you're talking about, having half the, restaurants run margins that are so tight. You're talking about half the tables. You're talking about distance. So, and then you're talking about clubs with half the people. I mean, maybe because my club is smaller, I'll get to open up before the Fillmore or the Zanger or the, part of the reason why I think we were so successful in the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 was there was a lot less competition. Now there was no theaters then. It took a while to get the Zanger up and the Joy and some of the others.
Right.
Now there's all these theaters. Now there's all these other venues. And it may go back to, after this is said and done, it may be the smaller clubs that get going first, because we were, as far as venues go, I mean, we closed 6 weeks ago today. We haven't been open for 6 weeks now, and We might be the first ones that open, but are we at half capacity? And it's going to be tough. The price.
And like, who's coming? Are the musicians going to be comfortable enough to be on stage in a room where you don't know what's going to transmit? And
that's the thing.
How paranoid is everybody going to be? And do people wear masks and it's 90% humidity? I mean, I'm sure that's not a good look.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, and how do you drink with the mask on? I mean, it's like I'm in the business of selling cocktails too, and so that's a challenge, So there are all those questions, and we'll see. I mean, that's what we're going to have to work out. I mean, I'm paying attention to all the, the big restaurant guys and all that, what they're thinking, how they're dealing with it. Again, we're right now we're still taking baby steps, and we need to see, because this virus keeps changing daily. It's something else changes about it. So, I mean, if there's a vaccine, I mean, that's what we're going to really need to get back on doing what we know how to do. And we need a vaccine out there. And who knows? I think that's the whole people's fears are the future. Like what's around the corner? What's next? And so, but yeah, what we know we do have next is hurricane season. I mean, that happens June 1st. So that's a whole other factor that you have to take in, that every storm that gets out in the Atlantic, you're tracking it 2 weeks out, and you're looking at the projections and you're seeing which way it's going. And is this something that we're going to have to deal with in a week, that we're going to have to, we would have been fine shutting down for the summer, but March and April is not when we want to shut down. That's for sure.
Yeah, this is when New Orleans makes its money to propel it.
And March and April will carry you for the next 4 months, in May. Of course.
Are you hearing much about government relief crawling into New Orleans? Like people getting their checks and stuff?
I think so. Yeah, I'm hearing. You know what? We had an election in November, a gubernatorial election, and it was John Bell Edwards, who he's a pretty moderate Democrat, and then this Risponi guy who was a crackpot, who was somebody who, big Trump supporter and all that. And all we do is thank our lucky stars that John Bell won that election, and that my people that work for me have been getting unemployment now for 5 of those 6 weeks we've been closed. And so they've been on it, and it's just like, I think he's been a fantastic job. And so people are getting help. I'm hearing about the $1,200 showing up in people's account lately. I'm hoping for that. I'm going to need that one of those small business loans to go to some of the small businesses and not some of these publicly traded companies with millions in cash reserves.
So I don't know if you saw this, but in Italy, I saw a report that they're going to close 50,000 bars and restaurants are going to close because of the lack of business and what it's done to their economy. And to me, that's a huge number. I've been to Italy. There's a ton of restaurants. It's a huge country.
Right.
But what do you think the outfall is going to be like there in NOLA?
There's definitely going to be, it's going to weed out a few restaurants, bars, and all that for sure. We'll see. This is the time where these few months are when people start to get caught up on some things. And so folks having access to some capital to get through this will help. I mean, I own my property, and so I don't have a landlord. I mean, I am my own landlord basically. So, but having access to capital is gonna help. And we actually were at I believe at a saturation point before all this, as far as restaurants. I mean, certainly in the summer, it's hard to fill all those bars and restaurants during the summer when there isn't, the conventions or the tourists, and the people who are in town for the summer are here because everything's cheap. The hotels are cheap, the flights are cheap, and they're cheapskates, and so that's not going to help. So
and you don't mind 100% humidity.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Tom, you've been a great friend of mine, and New Orleans has been a beautiful city, and my love for the city and all the people there, it gets stronger every year, and it gets harder and harder not to be there. And our thoughts are with you guys, and you have support from all over the world. All your friends are chilling in here to say hi.
Right on. My brother Leon.
And
right.
Benny Ellman there from Galactic. Galactic's our guest tomorrow.
Nice.
Ben hasn't committed, but I got Stanton and Rob on so far.
Oh, nice. Well, Ben likes to come in. Ben likes to come in like late, like get in, check in late for sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm thank you for doing this, man. I mean, we had that little Zoom party on Friday, and that was fun to watch some vids and it's just that's the biggest thing about Jazzfest is all your people come to town, and beyond the music and the fairgrounds and the food and all of it. It's just all the friends. I mean, that you've made through the years. They all show up. They all have their rituals, and it's whatever. We've been through a lot in this town, and we're gonna get through this. But it's definitely there's definitely something missing this last week or so. So
yeah, and we're all feeling. We all miss you guys very much, and it's really hard for all of us that aren't there. We're all commiserating together on group chats, and everybody's listening to OZ. So all of our attention is in that city, and it's been really enriching for me to be able to talk to my friends there and be able to share some of their stories with the people at home. I know I've been turning people on to different artists. Everybody's like, "Oh, boyfriend, wow," because these aren't house for us. Porter, Neville,
right.
These are household names. But when you get outside New Orleans and you're like, "Oh, Neville," and they're like, "Huh?" And especially this day and age.
Well, so, I've also fallen in love with a lot of the Lafayette bands. I love not only the funk and the brass of New Orleans, which my first trip to New Orleans was for Jazzfest in like '92 or whatever, and was just blown away by the people and the culture and the brass but then I've since I've been down here, we go out to Lafayette and we go to other spots, and the Cajun and the Zydeco and all that is another thing that I absolutely love. And we try to get out to Cajun country as much as we can because we love it out there. We love those people, and they have the same love of the culture and love of the state and the food and the music, and just I'm looking forward to being able to travel out there again and spend time with some of our friends out there and just getting this thing back rolling again. I mean, you got to feel for all. I mean, there's a lot of musicians that we need to get them gigs. We need to get them out there. We need to get people working again. And but like Whistle said, we gotta do our distancing. We got to give it time. The quicker we rush into this, we're gonna be back at next thing you know, this virus is gonna come back in the fall or the winter. We're gonna be back to zero. We're gonna back to start over again, and we can't do that. I went kayak fishing down in Fouchon, Louisiana on Saturday, and I went down to the Port Fouchon Marina, and it's as if nothing was. I was the only person that had a mask. I walked in there and I had my bandana on my face, and every other person, you would have thought nothing was going on. They were huddled up, gathered up. I'm trying to buy my live shrimp so I can go fishing, and I'm just trying to stay away from people. And so parts of this country, and we've gotten hit hard here, even in some of the parishes that are just up the river towards Baton Rouge. I mean, there's a lot of refineries up there. There's people's health, and so it is exposing a lot of the other issues that are going on in this country that we need to address. But people need to take it seriously, and we need to let this thing run its course.
I think the shit's going to hit the fan in a couple of weeks when we get those reports back, if everything's as they say.
Yeah.
But Tom, thank you. Our best thoughts are with you. I hope we can all storm this and be partying in d.b.a. before too long.
Yeah, my friend. Thank you, Jeffrey. Thanks for keeping us connected on your 420 and all the other little parties you're doing and all that. We're
gonna do Friday night again.
Good.
That was a lot of fun.
Good. I'll send you some.
I was going to tell you about a severe lack of d.b.a. videos available on the YouTube.
Oh, I got plenty, bro. I got plenty.
I know you got a whole supply there. So.
Oh yeah.
Send me what you want. I'll put it into rotation.
Right on, my friend. All right, man. Love you. Say hi to Jules and love you, the family.
I love you guys.
All right. Take care, my friend.
All right. Tom Thayer, owner of d.b.a. there in New Orleans, continuing our Jazzfest coverage. The reality of the COVID comes into every situation, no matter how you try not to talk about it. It's that big monkey that's sitting on our backs that we really can't get away from. But as you can hear, everybody is in the right spirit. I think everybody's got their head space in the right place. And it sounds like we're all, at least the people that have sense, the non-rump voters out there are all on the same page. We realize it's a shell game, that we're being hustled. and you're just trying to hold on to what's yours. Hold on to your cash. Keep it in your pocket. Eat at home. Don't eat out. All those things they're important. Because money is, we don't know when that next payday is coming. So all of us, but we have each other, and we're here every day for you at 4:10 p.m. Pacific time. Tomorrow, my guests are Galactic. I'm planning the rest of my week coming up. I hope you all tune in tomorrow. We're going to talk. Galactic's also a club owner. They own Tipitinas out there. So they bought a club, which seemed like a brilliant idea 6 months ago. And now, who knows? We're all in this whole big waiting game on what's going to happen. So tune in tomorrow. We'll talk to Galactic and our friends in the band, and they're all immersed in that New Orleans scene. I love the vibe in New Orleans, the heartbeat of America, the heartbeat of the world, New Orleans. It's one of a kind, and everybody's missing it right now. I know all my friends and family are. Everybody out there, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, hydrate, stay on a good diet, try not to eat too much. You don't want to come out of this with the pandemic 50 pounds that you have to lose, because it'll probably be summer, and then you're going to be like, look, I'm a fat lard on the beach. So no fat lards on the beach. Keep it down, keep it trim. If you want some good diet tips, hit me up. I'm Jeff Kravitz. I'll see you tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat station. Take care of each other. Take care of yourselves. Here's the hug. Boom. Peace, love, happiness for all of you guys. Have a great day.